The chamber was alive with tension, though silence ruled the air. I observed them from above, each representative of a galaxy-spanning species, skin glimmering like molten metal, eyes like polished obsidian, tentacles quivering with anticipation. The council had convened for one purpose: to decide the fate of a small, insignificant blue planet called Earth. "The humans are primitive," hissed Thrylock, the serpentine envoy from Vera Prime. "They cannot possibly resist our will. Enslavement is necessary for stability." I felt a ripple of collective approval. Votes were cast, transmitted through pulses of light that raced across the chamber. One by one, species proclaimed their judgment: the Zephyrians, the Karathi, the crystalline Stahl. Each vote seemed inevitable, predetermined. Yet beneath their confidence lurked the faintest tremor of doubt. I leaned closer, sensing the undercurrent of hubris. They saw Earth as weak, fragile, easily dominated. And yet the humans were not yet revealed in their true form. A shadow flickered across the chamber. A vote that no one expected. A lone human ambassador had somehow appeared, holographic and small, yet radiating an energy that caused the Verons to flinch. They did not see power. They saw curiosity. They saw audacity. "How?" whispered a Karathi elder, its crystalline facets catching the chamber lights. "They should not be here." The human's presence alone cast a ripple of uncertainty, subtle, almost imperceptible. But I knew this was the first seed of fear, a single anomaly that would grow. The council continued to vote, unaware that their decision was no longer merely administrative. It was a declaration against something that had already begun to change the balance. Thrylock's hiss grew sharper, almost panicked. "We cannot afford miscalculation." And in that moment I saw it. The quiet pride in the human's voice, the trembling of species who assumed superiority. They had no idea what was coming. The final vote flickered through the chamber. Earth, enslaved, unanimously agreed. Yet in the back of every observer's mind a question lingered, unspoken. How did these humans, so small and so frail, come to challenge the galaxy's judgment? The council adjourned, voices echoing with triumph, while I lingered, sensing the first tremors of rebellion. Something unseen had awoken on Earth, and the galaxy's arrogance had sealed its own fate. As the chamber emptied, I felt it, an unnameable tension, the kind that tightens the chest, that whispers warnings no species can fully comprehend. And I knew with a shiver of awe and dread that this vote was not the end. It was merely the opening move. And somewhere on that tiny blue world, unseen eyes watched. And waited. The shadows of Earth's defiance were gathering. From the void above, I watched the blue planet pulse with life, a fragile orb teeming with unseen potential. To the council, humans were nothing, primitive, scattered, weak. Yet what they could not see, what no alien eye had yet perceived, was the invisible architecture growing beneath their feet. The machinery of a future that would shake the galaxy to its foundations. On the surface, cities gleamed with ordinary light, their towers casting long shadows across oceans and plains. Streets bustled with the rhythm of unremarkable lives, children laughing, workers hurrying, engines humming. And yet, beneath that ordinary skin, a hidden evolution was stirring, a convergence of mind, metal, and energy that would render the council's arrogance irrelevant. It began with whispers of intelligence. Humans, once constrained by biological limits, had begun to integrate with technology in ways even we, beings who spanned the stars, could barely fathom. AI-driven systems hummed in secret laboratories, their neural matrices growing faster than any alien computation network. Algorithms learned not only at speeds inconceivable to their species, but with creativity, intuition, and a subtle understanding of strategy that defied logic. Bio-augmentation followed swiftly, limbs enhanced with synthetic muscle fibers capable of lifting tons, eyes that could detect a spectrum of light unseen by the Zephyrians. Neurons interfaced directly with machines, creating a synergy of thought and action that was almost organic. Each human became a node in a vast, unseen network of intelligence, a collective mind distributed across cities, continents, and oceans. And then came the first defense system. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense. No missile barrages, no supernova cannons. It was a system of elegance, of precision. Satellites and orbital arrays, invisible to alien sensors, aligned across the planet's orbit. Energy fields shimmered in frequencies beyond the detection of the Council's instruments, capable of rerouting the trajectory of asteroids, deflecting energy beams, and neutralizing advanced alien technologies. Autonomous drones, small as insects but armed with the intelligence of 100 generals, patrolled skies and seas. They were everywhere and nowhere at once. I could feel the tension building in the council chambers when fragments of intelligence reached them. The reports arrived slowly at first, then in a torrent. Humans had fired drones that intercepted and dismantled probes before they even reached orbit. Entire regions of the planet were shielded by invisible barriers that warped incoming energy. Communications sent from alien ambassadors were mysteriously disrupted, scrambled into incomprehensible codes. "How," murmured Thrylock, his serpentine coils tightening. "How have they achieved such defenses?" "They are—" his hiss faltered. No words existed for the magnitude of what was happening. From my vantage point, I saw the humans themselves. They moved with calm purpose, entirely aware of the Council's previous vote, but unbowed. In their laboratories, they danced between quantum computers and biolabs, guiding the growth of nanotechnology as one might tend a garden. Algorithms predicted outcomes, adjusted defenses, calculated the movements of potential invaders. Each human acted as both individual and collective, part organism, part intelligence matrix. And still, the Council did not comprehend. The hubris ran too deep. They saw Earth as a pebble beneath their boots, yet beneath that pebble, tectonic forces were shifting. A human general, eyes augmented to glow faintly with embedded optics, activated the first full-scale defense protocol. A holographic projection appeared above the Earth's poles, giant rotating rings of energy, invisible to the naked eye, but resonating in a frequency that made the sensors of the Zephyrians scream in error. Drones launched, not in chaos, but in choreographed patterns of lethal grace, each movement perfectly synchronized, each attack calculated to neutralize without collateral destruction. And then came the revelation, the twist that would haunt the Council forever. These systems were adaptive. Every attempt to penetrate, every strike designed to disable, was met not with repetition, but with ingenuity. The humans learned faster than any known life form. They turned the weaknesses of the invaders into their own strengths. A probe sent to scan Earth, disassembled mid-orbit, and its data redirected to reveal the vulnerabilities of the Council's own fleet. A communications jamming array, hijacked to relay false tactical commands back to the attackers, causing them to collapse into confusion. I hovered over the planet, awe and fear tangled in my consciousness. This was no ordinary species. The humans had turned their underestimation into a weapon. The Council's predictions were irrelevant. Their arrogance now rendered them blind to the storm gathering beneath Earth's skies. Yet even in this display of unprecedented power, there was subtlety. Humans were not brutes. Every defense, every augmentation, every AI deployment had a purpose beyond destruction. It was a statement of intent, a message whispered across the stars. "We are not yours to command. We define our own destiny." The Council began to stir uneasily. Whispers turned into frantic exchanges. "Contain them. Neutralize the systems." "Impossible. How can one species, this insignificant species, challenge us?" But containment was futile. Neutralization would only feed the humans' adaptive systems. And the more the Council tried to interfere, the more evident it became. Earth had already outpaced them. And still, what the Council could not yet perceive, and what no alien voice had yet articulated, was the most terrifying element of all. Humans had not revealed their full potential. What they displayed, even in its brilliance, was only the first layer of a strategy so vast, so meticulously orchestrated, that it promised not merely defense, but domination if provoked. As I watched, drones began to align along the horizon, forming geometries that bent light, refracted energy, and projected illusions of forces far greater than their true number. The humans themselves stood calm, almost serene, beneath the neon glow of their cities. They were preparing not for attack but for survival and revelation. And then, a single question threaded through the mind of every observer, alien and otherwise, as they gazed upon the planet. How did such a small, overlooked species ascend to this level of mastery? The answer remained hidden, locked within human ingenuity, patience, and an unyielding will. But one thing was undeniable. The first defense system had revealed more than technology. It had revealed the character of a species that no council vote, no decree, and no alien arrogance could control. I shivered at the sight. Earth was no longer weak. Earth had awakened, and the council, blinded by certainty, would soon discover that their vote to enslave had awakened a power they could neither predict nor stop. And somewhere, deep within the network of augmented humans, plans were already forming for the next move that would leave the galaxy trembling. The sky split open with fire. From the void, colossal fleets descended, black as obsidian, thrumming with energy fields and weapon arrays that no human eye could fully comprehend. The Council's arrogance had blinded them to Earth's subtle signals, but the humans were ready. I hovered above the chaos, an unseen witness, my sensors capturing every pulse, every tremor of this unprecedented confrontation. The first skirmish unfolded over the Pacific. Thousands of alien ships, glinting like dark stars, sliced through the clouds. Their cannons unleashed torrents of plasma, and the oceans boiled under the impact. Cities braced as humans activated defensive grids, shimmering shields that bent light and energy, rendering the first strikes almost useless. Drones swarmed, a perfect storm of metallic wings and neural precision, intercepting every incoming projectile. The humans did not panic. They moved with the calculated confidence of predators who had been waiting for this moment for centuries. The aliens struck with overwhelming force. Swarms of assault fighters tore into the skies, armies of biomechanical soldiers spilling across landing zones. The ground shook as they deployed, machines clanking, muscles and metals fused, eyes glowing with predatory intent. Yet the humans responded with ingenuity that defied belief. Urban landscapes became tactical fortresses. Skyscrapers, seemingly inert, morphed into energy conduits, channeling shields and weaponized force across the city. The streets themselves became traps, hidden electromagnetic grids that disarmed the invaders, collapsing terrain into pits of disorientation. From my vantage, I observed the first major shock. The humans did not fight individually. They were nodes in a living network, each aware of the other's actions in perfect synchronization. One soldier threw a device that disoriented 20 incoming units simultaneously. Across the horizon, an AI-guided swarm neutralized an entire battalion before they could set foot on the ground. Alien commanders stared at the battlefield in disbelief, their confidence crumbling as their forces faltered. "How?" hissed Thrylock through my sensors. "They should not be able to coordinate at this scale. We outnumber them by billions." Yet numbers alone could not overcome strategy. Humans exploited terrain, gravity, and even the alien psychology of hubris. Automated drones projected illusions, entire armies that did not exist, forcing alien units into chaos, turning precision into panic. Ships that should have crushed cities were rerouted mid-flight, their own weapons redirected by human networks to neutralize other enemy craft. The aliens were fighting shadows, phantoms, while the real threat struck from every unseen angle. And still, the humans' power was not merely technological. It was creative, adaptive. As alien soldiers advanced, the humans anticipated them, predicting formations, recalculating trajectories, altering patterns of engagement on the fly. Every tactic the aliens devised was met with a counter no one could have foreseen. In moments, entire battalions were rendered ineffective not by brute force, but by intellect, agility, and strategy. I watched a single battlefield unfold over the ruins of what had once been a port city. Alien titans, each towering over 10 meters, approached in synchronized formation. Humans released nanoswarms that clung to the invaders' exoskeletons, disassembling joints and weapons at a molecular level. Titans fell silently, collapsing into heaps of dismantled metal. Civilians watched from above, eyes wide with awe and fear. As a species they had only known as neighbors became legends in real time. The Council's fear became palpable, transmitted through encrypted signals I could intercept. "Contain! Contain them before they—" one voice hissed, breaking off mid-command. The humans had already rewritten the rules of engagement. Every strike was calculated, every defense anticipatory. The aliens were facing a species that was not just surviving, they were redefining combat itself. And yet the question lingered. Could this small planet withstand the full might of billions of invaders? The humans' courage was extraordinary, but the scale of the threat was unimaginable. Swarms of alien ships hovered above, preparing orbital bombardments. Ground forces advanced in waves that should have crushed any resistance. And yet humanity adapted again. Energy shields morphed dynamically, deflecting high-yield strikes. The skies filled with drones that projected holographic decoys, drawing the first volleys into empty air. Every attack that should have devastated cities was absorbed, deflected, or neutralized. And then came the moment that shifted the tide. The humans deployed the first integrated AI tactical command node, a network linking every drone, every augmented soldier, and every city grid. Decisions were no longer made by individuals. They emerged organically from the system, adaptive and instantaneous. Alien commanders tried to predict the humans' responses, but every calculation failed. Every strategy, every formation was anticipated, countered, and dismantled with precision that bordered on prescience. I could feel the Council's panic radiating across interstellar communication channels. "Impossible," whispered the Zephyrians. "They cannot—" "We are gods of strategy." But humans did not rely on brute force. They relied on observation, intelligence, and the subtle power of understanding the invaders' own patterns. The very arrogance that had led the Council to enslave Earth became their downfall. And in that chaos, I witnessed the first signs of triumph, not just tactical, but psychological. Alien units began to retreat, formations broke apart, and the first fleets signaled withdrawal. For the humans, the battle was not yet won, but the message was clear. Earth would not be conquered. The unthinkable had occurred. The underestimated, the overlooked. The supposedly primitive species had turned the first contact into a decisive statement of capability and intent. Even as the humans secured their first defensive victory, I sensed a deeper tension, a latent energy that whispered of greater plans. They were not content with survival. They were already plotting the next moves, the strategies that would ensure not just defense but ascendancy. And the galaxy, for the first time in its long history, recognized the truth. Earth was no longer insignificant. And somewhere, amidst the ruins and the illuminated skies, the humans paused, watching, waiting, calculating, ready to remind the galaxy why no vote, no council, and no army could ever fully predict the strength of those who fought not just for survival, but for destiny. Beneath the shattered plains of a once-forgotten continent, humans unearthed what the galaxy had long thought lost to time. The artifact lay buried, silent, unassuming, its surface etched with symbols that defied comprehension, glowing faintly with an energy that resonated in the bones of the Earth itself. From above, I watched them approach, unaware of the full consequences of their discovery. The Council had underestimated this species. They had overlooked a subtlety that no alien calculation could anticipate. Humans did not merely seek power, they sought understanding. And here, in this ancient alien remnant, they would find both. As the humans encircled the artifact, a soft hum began to emanate from its crystalline core. The air thickened, charged with vibrations that made the hair stand on my sensors. Each human, augmented or unaugmented, instinctively recognized its significance. Their minds, already linked through AI networks, began to interface with the object, not forcibly, but in a synchrony that suggested something more than technology. A dialogue. The artifact responded. Light spiraled outward, weaving through the ruins in patterns that mirrored the constellations above. Energy pulsed like a heartbeat, and time itself seemed to ripple subtly around its presence. One human reached forward, hand trembling, and touched the artifact. The connection was instantaneous. Knowledge flooded into the network, waves of calculations, geometric structures, and quantum patterns beyond alien comprehension. They understood, at a level deeper than thought, the very laws that governed energy, matter, and causality. I observed the first true marvel. Humans did not just wield the artifact's power, they integrated it into themselves. Nanites, AI systems, and augmented neural pathways synchronized with the artifact, allowing them to manipulate energy fields in ways no species had attempted. A single human could bend plasma currents with precision, reroute energy streams mid-flight, and even alter local gravitational vectors. And yet this was only the beginning. Time, the most elusive constant of the universe, also seemed to bend near the artifact. Observers could detect subtle loops and echoes, as though the past whispered hints to the present. Humans noticed these anomalies, not with fear but with curiosity. Experiments began. Small temporal shifts, predictive modeling that reached beyond conventional causality, and the mapping of potential futures with astonishing clarity. The Council had assumed humans were reactionary, constrained by linear perception. They were catastrophically wrong. And still the artifact remained partially veiled, its deepest functions undeciphered. It was not merely a weapon, nor simply a tool. It was a repository of ancient knowledge, the legacy of a species whose reach had extended across galaxies and epochs. And the humans, humble in comparison, yet fearless in their ambition, had unlocked its first layer. Alien intelligence began to tremble at the news. Reconnaissance fleets reported energy distortions around Earth, readings that defied all logic. Thrylock's voice quivered in a rare, almost human panic. The humans? They cannot control it. They cannot possibly. But the humans already had. What the Council could not perceive was not just the control of energy. They were beginning to understand unity. The synchronization of human consciousness, AI, and ancient alien technology. Their strength was as much philosophical as tactical. I observed the first human tests. A single augmented human extended a field over a cratered valley, siphoning kinetic energy from collapsing terrain and redirecting it into a protective dome. Entire alien drones, once descending like locusts, were neutralized mid-air, immobilized by gravitational pulses, subtly manipulated. Energy streams shimmered in patterns that resembled the dance of the stars themselves. Beautiful, precise, and terrifyingly effective. And yet, the artifact hinted at something deeper, a whisper of potential the humans could not yet fully comprehend. It pulsed as if aware of their intentions, as if testing their resolve and curiosity. Would they seek dominance or understanding? Would they exploit it or become its stewards? The answers remained hidden, even from the humans themselves. I sensed the growing tension ripple through the galaxy. Alien powers attempted to intercept the signals to block or seize the artifact. Entire fleets converged on Earth, blind to the subtleties of what they faced. But the humans had anticipated this. Energy fields rose, drones deployed in perfect formation, and the artifact's resonance synchronized with every defense system. It was a display not of brute force, but of intelligence, philosophy, and unity. The greatest revelation, even to me, was the humans' restraint. They did not obliterate approaching fleets. They did not seek immediate revenge or conquest. Instead, they tested, observed, and prepared. In doing so, they demonstrated something alien and extraordinary. True power lay not merely in destruction, but in understanding, control, and harmony between knowledge and action. And then, as the alien fleets began to retreat, recalibrating their assumptions, a ripple in the artifact's energy hinted at something unforeseen, an echo of potential so vast, so profound, that even I, the eternal observer, felt a tremor of awe. Humans were no longer merely defending their planet. They were awakening a force that could redefine existence itself, and somewhere, in the quiet glow of ancient alien ruins, the humans paused, touching the edge of possibilities that no council, no army, and no empire had ever dreamed of exploring. The Council had never known fear like this. From the void above Earth, I observed alien ambassadors, once towering in arrogance, adorned in ceremonial medals, their eyes gleaming with authority, now reduced to trembling supplicants. The fleets that had once threatened the planet hovered, inert, as if the very notion of combat had been stripped from them. Every species that had voted to enslave Earth now knelt, not out of ritual, but out of stark terror. Thrylock, the serpentine envoy of Vera Prime, hissed desperately into communications that carried across the galaxy. "Please, we yield. Spare us, Grant. Mercy!" His coils twisted in panic. His eyes, polished black, reflected the glow of Earth's defenses like mirrors of humiliation. I felt the energy of desperation radiate, tangible, almost suffocating. It was not brute force that had humbled them. It was strategy, ingenuity, unity, and a quiet, resolute strength that spoke louder than any weapon. Humans had demonstrated not only the power to defend themselves, but the capacity to dominate the very calculus of the galaxy. Every fleet immobilized, every envoy silenced, every calculated defense executed flawlessly. Earth had proven that it could hold the fate of billions in its grasp. The humans did not gloat. They did not demand surrender. They observed, patient, calculating, their augmented eyes reflecting both the devastation and the pleading before them. A single human commander stepped forward, their presence amplified by neural interfaces, projecting calm authority across interstellar channels. "State your intentions," the voice resonated, not with menace, but with unwavering control. "Why do you come before us now?" the alien leader stammered. Words faltered, fractured across translations. "We misjudged. We were wrong. Mercy, please. We beg you to—" The Karathi, crystalline facets shivering, extended a hand in supplication, their entire body trembling. "We yield. We yield to your judgment." I sensed the humans pause, a stillness that stretched across the battlefield and beyond, into the void where billions watched. This pause was deliberate. It carried the weight of history, morality, and the gravity of choice. They held the fate of entire civilizations in their hands, yet the answer was not predetermined. They could exact revenge, crush those who had sought their enslavement, or they could rise above vengeance, redefining what power truly meant. A low hum emanated from the artifact buried beneath the Earth's surface, resonating with the collective consciousness of humanity. It was as though the ancient technology itself waited, observing the moral calculus of its current stewards. Would they act as conquerors or as wise arbiters of justice? The aliens' panic only intensified as they sensed the decision being made not by impulse, but by deliberation. The humans deliberated in silence. The artifact's light pulsed softly through their neural networks, projecting visions of potential futures, some drenched in war, others in peace. Every possible outcome unfolded, each weighed against ethics, consequence, and vision. The moral tension was palpable. Even I, eternal observer, felt the weight of the decision pressing against the boundaries of comprehension. Finally, a human leader's voice echoed across the council channels. "We will not enslave. We will not destroy. You will leave, and you will carry the memory of your arrogance. And you will learn respect for those you underestimate." Shock radiated outward like a supernova. Alien leaders recoiled, unable to fully process the mercy being granted. Some wept, facets shattering in relief and shame. Others bowed, not in triumph, but in humbled recognition of human wisdom. Their fleets turned, retreating slowly, never daring to provoke again, yet even in mercy there was authority. Humans projected a network of surveillance and energy deterrence, ensuring that any deceit or future aggression would be met instantly. This was not forgiveness without consequence, it was justice tempered with restraint. The galaxy was being reminded, power without wisdom is catastrophic. Wisdom without power is impotent. I recorded the subtle reverberations across the galaxy. Entire species paused, recalculating assumptions, questioning doctrines, and reconsidering the very concept of hierarchy and dominance. Humans, the once underestimated, had rewritten the rules. Supremacy now required ethics, foresight, and unity, and in that pause, The Council's lingering fear whispered through the stars. What if this species, in wielding mercy, becomes unstoppable? What if their understanding of power is beyond anything we have ever known? Humans watched the departing fleets, eyes reflecting both triumph and restraint. They had asserted dominion not with annihilation, but with moral clarity. And somewhere, deep within the network of their linked minds, strategies were already forming, not for revenge, but for the stewardship of a galaxy that had once sought to enslave them. And as the alien leaders disappeared into the void, I realized a truth even the Council could not yet grasp. Humanity's greatest weapon was not technology, nor numbers, nor force. It was their choice, and the galaxy would never forget the day the underestimated became the arbiters of justice. The battlefield had quieted, yet the air itself seemed charged with anticipation. Above Earth, the alien fleets retreated, fractured and humiliated, but their legacy of fear lingered. And below, amidst the ruins of cities and the hum of reactivated energy grids, humanity gathered, not to celebrate, but to confront a question far heavier than any battle could pose. What should be done with power? I observed them, their augmented eyes reflecting not weapons or drones, but contemplation. They had defeated the invaders without bloodlust. They had held the fate of billions in their hands, yet the answer did not lie in dominance. A council of their own formed in the ruins of a crumbled plaza. Human leaders spoke in tones both deliberate and solemn, voices amplified subtly through neural interfaces that projected unity. "Retribution is simple," one voice said, "soft yet firm. But we are not simple." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the networked minds. They debated the nature of justice, punishment for those who sought enslavement, or forgiveness that could define a new order for the galaxy. Arguments rose and fell like tides. Some argued that mercy would be perceived as weakness, inviting future threats. Others contended that revenge would perpetuate cycles of violence the galaxy could never escape. From above, I could sense the tension radiating outward, an energy that even alien instruments might misinterpret as combat. Yet this was a war of consciousness, of ethics, and of vision. Their deliberation was meticulous, measured, and profoundly human. They considered not only the aliens' fates, but the legacy of Earth's moral authority. Their decisions would echo across time, shaping not just political alignments, but the philosophy of civilizations to come. Finally, a human philosopher general stepped forward, their eyes reflecting both the artifact's glow and the scars of battle. "Our strength is not in vengeance," they said, "but in unity. Let our mercy be the demonstration that intelligence tempered by conscience surpasses the violence of instinct. The galaxy must learn that power without wisdom is ruin." And in that instant, the artifact pulsed in resonance with their will. It amplified their decision, projecting it across human networks and into the quantum fields that linked their minds. Humanity's collective choice, mercy tempered with vigilance, spread like a wave of calm energy through the planet and into orbit. A quiet yet undeniable assertion of ethical supremacy. Alien ambassadors, watching from the void, felt the ripple. Thrylock recoiled, hiss tightening to a strangled whisper. They could have destroyed us, and yet they choose. Restraint? The council species could scarcely comprehend the scale of this moral victory. Humans had demonstrated that the greatest power is not domination, it is the ability to rise above hatred, to act in accordance with reason, conscience, and foresight. As I observed, humans began to project signals of reconciliation across space. Messages of guidance, warnings of miscalculation, and declarations of peace radiated from Earth. It was not weakness. It was authority. The quiet, unyielding authority of a species that had proven itself capable of governing not only its own destiny, but influencing the moral calculus of the galaxy. The human network pulsed again, linking minds and technology. They simulated futures in real time. The consequences of mercy, the potential for unity, the risks of retaliation. Every scenario converged toward a single truth. Restraint, when guided by wisdom, creates strength far beyond any weapon or fleet. And I, eternal observer, realized that what I was witnessing was unprecedented. Not merely the survival of a species, but the birth of a new paradigm. Below the surface, the artifact's hum shifted almost imperceptibly. It was as if the ancient technology acknowledged the human's choice, rewarding the delicate equilibrium between power and conscience. Their decisions had elevated them beyond simple survival. They had achieved moral ascendancy, and yet a shadow of uncertainty lingered. There was always another challenge, another species, another test. Could humans maintain this balance? Could they wield power without succumbing to hubris? These questions stretched forward into the void, unanswerable yet essential. Finally, as the humans rose from their deliberation, linked minds glowing softly beneath the sun's setting rays, the network broadcast a single unified message across space. We are awake. We are vigilant. We choose wisdom over vengeance. And the galaxy will learn that the underestimated can define the course of history. And somewhere, far beyond the solar system, alien species trembled at the implications. Earth's inhabitants were no longer mere survivors. They were arbiters of morality, guardians of possibility, and a living reminder that courage without conscience is hollow. But conscience guided by power can reshape the stars. And in that quiet, resolute moment, I knew. The galaxy's new path had been forged, not with destruction, but with humanity. The blue planet hung in the void like a jewel tempered by fire. From orbit, I observed the cities shimmering with renewed life, energy fields still flickering faintly around strategic hubs, and humans moving with quiet purpose, their augmented eyes reflecting both triumph and contemplation. Earth had endured the impossible, and in doing so, had rewritten the rules of the galaxy. No longer merely a planet among billions, Earth had become a symbol, its inhabitants a testament to ingenuity, courage, and moral clarity. Alien species that had once conspired to enslave this world now approached with cautious respect, consulting emissaries who had once been enemies but were now advisors and allies. The council that had voted for Earth's subjugation now found themselves humbled, their arrogance replaced by measured observation. I watched humans convene in the central orbital hub, the networked minds of leaders, scientists, and strategists intertwining with AI and the artifact's ancient intelligence. Plans were drawn not for conquest, but for stewardship, a galactic infrastructure of ethics, security, and knowledge-sharing that no species had attempted before. Earth had become the moral and strategic heart of a galaxy, teetering between chaos and order. Yet even in this triumph, the horizon was uncertain. From the fringes of explored space, signals pulsed, distortions in energy fields, patterns unaccounted for by even the most advanced human simulations. The galaxy was vast, and the artifact hinted that not all ancient legacies had been discovered. Humans, aware of the unknown, prepared not for dominance, but for vigilance. Their unity, tempered by wisdom, would guide them as much through diplomacy as through defense. The cities of Earth thrummed with renewed life. Children played in streets once scarred by skirmishes, their laughter echoing across rebuilt neighborhoods. Scientists monitored stars for anomalies, scholars studied the artifact, and leaders convened with alien representatives to establish treaties and shared research initiatives. The planet itself seemed to pulse with pride and hope, a living testament to what could be achieved when intelligence, morality, and courage converge. And yet, the galaxy remained a place of mystery. Beyond the veil of known systems lay civilizations untouched by humans' influence, planets that had never seen the light of Earth's moral authority. Unknown threats waited, beings whose motives could not be anticipated, powers whose scale dwarfed even the artifact's ancient knowledge. Humanity's triumph was real, but it was only the beginning of a new chapter. From my vantage point, I felt the resonance of human legacy spreading outward, faintly visible in the ripples of energy and light. The artifact pulsed gently beneath the planet, attuned to the ethical decisions and unity of its stewards. It whispered possibilities of exploration, discovery, and stewardship that extended beyond mere survival. Humans had become guardians not of a single world, but of the very potential of civilizations themselves. And in this moment, I understood the truth that the Council had failed to grasp. Earth's strength was never in its fleets, its shields, or its technology. It lay in the courage of its people, the clarity of their moral vision, and the unbreakable bond that had allowed them to rise above fear, hatred, and underestimation. The planet itself had become a legend, not through violence but through wisdom, resilience, and unity. Yet even as Earth thrived, I sensed the subtle tension of possibility, the faint stirrings of new challenges, waiting just beyond the edge of known space. Humanity would face them, as it always had, guided by the lessons of survival, the insights of the artifact, and the collective conscience of a species that refused to be defined by limitations. The skies above shimmered with light, alien ambassadors arriving, trade ships venturing from distant worlds, and the quiet, humming presence of the artifact linking minds and possibilities across the globe. And as I observed, I realized that this story, though it had reached a point of triumph, was far from complete. The galaxy was watching, the future was unwritten, and Earth's legacy had only begun. And somewhere in the quiet glow of its cities, humans looked up at the stars, not with fear, but with wonder, knowing that courage and unity could shape destinies, and that the next chapter awaited beyond the horizon. The underestimated had become the arbiters of hope, and the universe would never be the same.